We are live, ma'am.
Hi, good evening, everyone. It is my pleasure to bring the third masterclass for the one-year global MBA in business analytics for the participants here today. The masterclass today will address a very important thing, which is emerging themes in business analytics. Well, I'm delighted to welcome and introduce Ms. Mahua Mitra, our speaker for the evening today. Ms. Mahua Mitra has done her bachelor's degree in physics and post-graduation in radiophysics and electronics. She completed her MBA in systems. She started her career with TCS and then eventually worked with IBM, PwC, Oracle India, and now with Hitachi Vantara. She has done IT consulting as well as management consulting for these companies. In this tenure, she has served multiple clients across the world in countries like the US, UK, and UAE. She has worked in multiple projects related to system implementation as well as the run and maintenance. She is mainly associated with Oracle World Work for Oracle eBusiness Suite. This is a business application, a packaged solution that caters to customers' business in different areas and processes like ERP, SCM, and CRM, to mention a few. Her current role comprises senior solution architect and mentoring new joinees and freshers as a part of the company's global mentor group. I welcome you, Ms. Mitra, and we can now begin with our first question for the masterclass today. Looking at the kind of experience that you are already enriched with, what kind of importance have you seen business analytics picking up in the last few years? Ms. Mitra, you're on mute.
Yeah, am I audible now, Meenakshi?
Yes.
Yeah. So first of all, thanks for the wonderful introduction. And I'm glad and really elated to have this opportunity to address the students as well as all the attendees over here. So a very good evening to everybody, first of all. And now coming to your question. So what was it? I mean, how do I think how it is baking up? I mean, the requirement of
yes.
business analytics, right? So can I take 3-4 minutes, Meenakshi, before that to set up a
Certainly.
background?
Certainly.
Okay. Yeah, I would like to take this opportunity to to start with a story. What does this business analytics? It's hot right now. We all know, and that is where you wanted me to comment. But before that, I want to tell you that it's not new. Back in 1800, we had I read somewhere it's a story. It started back in 1800. Somebody called Frederick W. Taylor. So he was the first business analyst. So you can imagine, right? So back in 1800, he worked with the company Ford. So he worked with Ford to have this business analysis first in place. Let me tell you how. Okay. So Ford, as we all know, they manufacture car. So this gentleman, Mr. Taylor, he said, I want to introduce some sort of improvement in your process. And that is what today's even the business analyst, they do, right? So he said, I want to introduce something new, something improvement for your betterment of your company. Then he started observing how the laborer work, how their, the body language works and how they are manufacturing, how they are actually working in front of the tools and machines. So by looking at that, he started optimizing the time because he mostly worked on the time of the manufacturing. So that way he concentrated on the process, and finally rest is history. We all know how Ford worked, and it's not for the automobile sector. It basically improved the whole industry revolution. At that time, in the industrial revolution was also working on. So it improved the whole lot. So I would say Mr. Taylor, who actually introduced the first scientific method of improving the business method. So he was the first business analyst. And later, when once 1900 started and computer algorithms started coming in, and people started understanding the strength of computational, I mean, the speed, the way, computer works. So they started merging these two, and business analytics came into place in full-fledged. Now, coming to the latest status of business analytics, or rather business analytics, why it is so hot. Once, internet age started, I would say in 90s, late 90s or 2000, information started pouring in. We all know, right? So because of internet age, it's the age of information, we all say. So, and for a company to improve their current process, what do we need? We need the information, we need the history, past history. How did they perform? What are the reasons behind the successes? What are the reasons behind the failures? And what does this business analyst they do? They basically, they do the data mining, of course, with the help of data analysts. But let's for now, let's just talk about the whole workflow. So they basically do the data mining, they do the data massaging, and depending on that, they actually create a model of success or failure, and then they actually advise the company to improve their performance, right? So on these, basically two things are very important, or rather I would say three things are very important. One is gathering data, and then storing it, and then data mining, rather taking it up, massaging it, putting it in terms of reporting. So all these three, four things, they are like hand in hand. They should go hand in hand. Then only, they can have a success in terms of business modeling, in terms of advising to the company where they are failing and what is their success points. So while the internet age started, gathering data became a cakewalk, because previously it was all, ledger, it was all on pen and paper. So bookkeeping was a big job. But right now, gathering data is a cakewalk. We all know. We all are actually creating data every day, unknowingly or knowingly. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, everywhere we are creating, everybody is creating data. IoT, Internet of Things, right? In my home, at your home, everywhere we have at least 3-4 gadgets which are connected to internet. So we do not know, unknowingly we are catering to the, creating data for IoT. So data is huge. Every 2 years, I heard somewhere that data is doubling up. So now data is there, and next comes the data storage. With the advance of technology, even data storage has become very easy, very cheap, and very efficient. We have so many companies now in outside India, inside India, who are working on data storage. So now we have data gathering, now we have data storage. Next is analysis and reporting. And there comes the story of business analytics, and the companies, they have started understanding the importance of data, that they cannot ignore the huge amount of data that is getting created every day worldwide. So they cannot ignore it. So they started realizing, otherwise they'll be laggards. So to be at the front, like COVID-19 taught us so many things, right? So we know how data is important. So all the companies, they know that they cannot ignore data, and as a result, they cannot ignore business analysts. So this is how it is at this moment. I think that's the right way of saying.
Yes. So I think you've kept the blocks really clearly, because this also teaches us where we started, what was the objective of the next step which was in the picture, and you rightly mentioned that what do we do with so much of data, how are we making it meaningful, and therefore the rise of business analytics. Now moving ahead, what is the revolution that you have witnessed on the digital front of business analytics?
I would say huge. Last 15, 20 years, I think it is, the speed is enormous. We all know. So my career is around 20 years, and I have seen a lot of change. I would say that the horizon changed drastically. So I'll come to that slowly. Like when I started my career, as I was saying, okay, let me first come how I started my career. What was the way data was handled that time, and what is it now?
Right.
So when I started my career, as I said, I mean, like data was, people started getting the idea that data is important. Even it was important even way back in 1800, as I was saying, because just by observing the laborer, just by observing the way of production, that is collecting data, right? So Mr. Taylor, he had worked on the improvement of the process. So he was collecting data. But when the business increases, when the horizon of the business increases, it becomes nationwide. Collecting data, keeping them is a real challenge, because the data might get into silos, go into silos.
That's
So
right.
that is very, very challenging for any company. It's not intentional. We sometimes say, right, they do not share data. No, it is a challenge for them to upkeep the bookkeeping of the data and sharing that with, across, with company wise or worldwide. So when I started my career 20 years back, data warehousing, DW or EDW, possibly you might have heard these terms, they were very popular. What is this DW or EDW? Enterprise data warehousing, EDW.
Okay.
So this is all about handling data for larger scale, right? For companies. Like when you have your students, say you have data for your students' mark sheet. So what do? You basically maintain one Excel sheet, just an example. So
Yes.
you maintain your data and students' name, roll number, marks, etc., etc. And there, what you can do? Your reporting is important, as I said, right? What will you do with your data? You want to do an analysis of on your data. Who is the topper? Who is the at the not really doing well, and what is the reason behind it? So you need data to basically analyze. But when you have this is you can manage on an Excel sheet, because it's in a class or it's in the university, right? But when it is a company wise data, you get unstructured data. Like when you sometime you get a text file from some from some org, or somewhere you are getting one maybe video. Today's it's very common. So their data type is very unstructured. So for that, you need a database which can handle a wide range of data, which is not possible with ordinary database. Okay.
Right.
So I started my career with, by designing relational database. So database which has got relational database, and EDW is an extension of that, which caters to the big houses, the industries, EDW. And you might have heard the term on, OLAP.
Hola.
So on EDW, which works on EDW.
Yes.
So OLAP is online analytics process. So there comes the, analytics part of it. So what does it do? It's a basically framework that works on DW, or rather data warehousing. As I said, data warehousing can cater to large amount of data. And OLAP tool works on DW, which basically can cater to, it basically empowers the user to cater to the large amount of data. I'll give you a very good example. Say, the spreadsheet.
Yes.
So it has got rows and columns
Yes.
to handle data. So OLAP tool that based on 3D spreadsheet. So that's called OLAP Cube. So it has got basically each cube caters to 3D data. So you can think of, I'm just increasing the dimension of data we are handling. So it gives me more, freedom of handling the data, more efficiency on handling the data. So OLAP Cube was very popular back then when I started my career, OLAP on DW or EDW. So I worked on a EDW database for a long amount of time. Then, and then I started working in Oracle. So Oracle database along with Oracle front end, you had already introduced me as, Oracle e-business suite consultant. So what is that? That caters to, basically, it's a predefined software, or rather a package software that caters to the business houses. So it is already mapped to the existing business. Then what do? Oracle had done already. So as a consultant, we actually understand the business, and then we start mapping it with the Oracle's existing business process. They might match, but high chance they match up to 70-80%, because the Oracle e-business suite that caters to across industries, all kind of business houses. So the particular business might match up to 70-80%. There comes the chance of customization. Okay. So we understand the business, then we map the business with the existing Oracle suite, and the gap is met by customization.
Wow.
Okay. So, and there also I have seen a lot of changes, because in terms of this analytics, reporting is very important. So, initially we had a report which were a two-tier database. I mean, based on, the back-end database and front-end, a thick client we used to call. Then later comes three-tier architecture. It's now on web browser. You started getting the reports. And working on the, front end, how interactivity is. It was initially only PDF or only text. Now we have got dashboards attached with it to make the reporting, more colorful, more interactive. I'll come to that later. So now coming back again to EDW era, then started coming big data. We all are aware of the word big data. What is it? Because as I said, data started pouring in. Last 10 years, it's enormous. I mean, we do not know how much data I might have created in my last 5 years, 10 years, unknowingly, knowingly, So then, and business houses and everybody started understanding you cannot ignore this data. These data is very important for analysis purpose. These data can show you many paths, many way forward. Like I would say, to increase the customer experience. As I was telling you, I think this morning, that when you open YouTube, you get to see only the videos that you prefer. How do they do that? Because they use your experience. They use IoT, Internet of Things, to record your preferences, and depending on that, they actually suggest you those videos. Netflix, as an example, you will get to see only your preferred videos. It's just in one or two example, but it's actually everywhere. So big data is huge data that we are developing every day, and companies are very eager to use that data. And there comes the requirement of having another data management system, because EDW could not cater to big data. Yes, EDW has had analytical power, but it was not that vast or not that big to cater to big data. So big data is in petabytes, zettabytes range. So there comes the requirement of Hadoop. Okay. You must have heard all these terms, yes. In bits and pieces. You get to see Hadoop, you get to see big data. So Hadoop is another framework which works along with, I would say, you remember I said that for big data, now I forgot what is it? The framework that we used to use.
The Hadoop one that you said.
Hadoop is for big data, but for handling big data, Hadoop is the infrastructure basically. Okay. So what is very different in Hadoop? Hadoop is basically it caters to the huge data storage that big data is required, because that was missing in EDW.
Okay.
And also the processing power.
All right.
Because as the data volume increases, you need processors. You need most faster one.
Correct.
Then only the analytics, the data, you are actually working with the data. You are massaging it. You are trying to get output out of it.
Correct.
And you have enormous amount of huge volume of data. So you need huge processor to cater to it. So right. Hadoop is, Hadoop can cater to that basically. So I have seen, this journey from in terms of data, as I said, data storage, uh, data processing. So I have seen this journey from data warehousing to big data, I can say, and big data leads to AI and ML.
That's right.
Okay, so that's the hot topic these days.
Yeah.
So why? Because what is ML? ML is basically the machine language, and AI and ML, they come hand in hand. These two terms you always get to hear
That's
together.
right.
Why? What is machine language? Because you have basically all the characteristic about of a scenario. Big data, you have captured data. What Meenakshi likes from morning to night.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't want to serve you as say a Netflix,
Mm-hmm.
or as a business house. I don't want to serve you with a manual process.
Correct.
I want to do an automation, introduce an automation,
Mm-hmm.
so that it basically ROI, in terms of ROI, the return on investment increases, because I'm automating the process. For that, the requirement of ML that comes into place.
That's
So
right.
machine language is basically, you are not programming,
Mm-hmm.
you are teaching the machine how to react when a scenario comes. And that can happen only through big data. You have a huge amount of data about Mohua or about Meenakshi. You know its characteristic, you know her behavior. Then only you can, train the machine to react to your different behavior. It's not programming, because it needs to take decision. And machine language is a subset of AI, artificial intelligence. So there comes, without human brain, even the machine is deciding. So now, the entire journey that at least I have seen in last 20 years, and that
I
is
get that.
very fascinating, I would say. And the horizon is changing every day, so faster. In another 5 years, you and I might work, or talk on something else.
That's right.
Maybe some super intelligent machine which
Yes.
can go beyond human intelligence. And
So,
all these things, they are linked with business analytics.
very
They are
interesting to
linked.
know.
Yeah,
Yes.
they are all linked with analytics,
Mm-hmm.
data, analysis, inference out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you are, putting in the solution on the table by
So,
analyzing the past data.
yes. So, Mahua, there's one question that is intriguing me now. So, business analysts are precisely also making this data more meaningful for the companies for a particular objective use, or are they, as of now, on date, equipped only to read it the way a particular software trains them to read?
See, business analytics, they need two things, right? One is skill,
Mhm. Correct.
and one is the infrastructure.
Yes.
So I think we talked about all the infrastructure till now, what we
Absolutely.
have, right? So
Absolutely.
the skill we did not talk,
Correct.
right? So that is what you guys are
Yes.
training basically.
Yes. Yes.
So they need different, they use different process to
Mm-hmm.
do the analysis.
Mm-hmm.
I think SWOT, BEST, there are many, they do brainstorming.
Mm-hmm.
There are different techniques. So there is a slight difference. I would not say slight. These guys would kill me. There is a huge difference between data analyst and business analyst.
Yes. You're
These two,
absolutely right. You're
yes,
absolutely right.
yeah.
Yes.
Even though we all, kind of mix them together, that they
Mhm.
are same, but I don't consider them as same. They are different. They are way different.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, moving on to my next question, what are some of the new themes, the new emerging themes that you have seen, witnessed in this area?
As I said, I think it's everywhere. I mean, see, data gathering is one part, then data storage is one part, reporting. For analysis, for analytics, reporting is a huge part. It's a very important part, how you are basically presenting your data. So I'm a tech guy, I've been working with technology so far. So I have seen a huge, I would say, a sea change in the reporting tools we used to use back in 2000, 2001, and now. So you might have heard the word called SaaS, software as a service.
Yes. Yes.
So when I started my career, report as a tool. I'm talking about the tool which is used to generate and build a report and generate a report so that it goes to the management after analysis.
Right.
So that used to be a tool installed on your machine. So you need to install your tool on each and every desktop, or rather each and every laptop. And then you build your report, you deploy your code. There is it's a huge process involvement in it and huge maintenance overhead.
Okay.
But from there, it has now come to SaaS reporting.
Okay.
So software as a system. After, in fact, COVID-19 pandemic, you might have seen everything is on cloud.
Yes.
People started, moving on to cloud. On-prem systems are kind of history today. On-prem, I mean on-premise.
Okay.
So we used to have our own database. Say, as a university, you used to prefer your own database within your university to cater to your system, to cater to your requirement.
Got it.
But people started understanding that it's a huge overhead. Maintenance is a huge overhead in terms of cost, in terms of laborer, in terms of everything. And when you had pandemic, we never stopped. IT never stopped, only because of this cloud infrastructure in place. Right? Otherwise, you can think of, you cannot imagine, in fact, what would have happened without this in place.
Yes.
So PaaS, SaaS, and IaaS, these three things, it's another, latest words or terminology. IaaS means infrastructure as a service. PaaS is platform as a service. And SaaS is software as a service. So in software as a service, as I was saying, you just log in to your system and you can have your business areas defined. You just pull them out. They are well-defined business areas, yet customizable.
Okay.
So your business analyst can pull the corresponding or the relevant business areas. They are well-defined there. Say for SCM, say for finance, there are well-defined business areas. You just pull the corresponding business area, you do customization, and you can have your analytics ready.
Okay.
Which is really a wow thing. You are kind of, you are ready to go with your reporting, with your analytics, and it actually shows you amazing dashboards.
That's right.
It caters to basically from company level reporting to a single project level reporting. So that is very important because you actually analyze data based on different scenarios, the successes, the failures, and based on the past data, you basically have your business model ready. Predictive analysis you can do. I would say predictive analysis is much more easier these days using all these SaaS reporting functionality.
Got it.
So what was your question? Sorry, Meenakshi, I lost the track.
So the new emerging themes in this area.
Yeah, I think this is, these are the frontliners. Right, again, AI and ML, I would say ML, machine language. You have the dashboard now ready. Then what would you do? It's a static report.
Right.
But based on the report, or based on if there is, some crisis, or if the data triggers something, you can trigger your alert automatically. There comes the machine language, the functionality called machine language. So you need to have that. I think business analysts, they already have their programming language skill too. So Python, as you might have heard, it's a very popular language these days. So they can use that and they can trigger their own alerts. So it's a complete integrated system, starting from data mining, then data analysis, reporting, then corresponding alerts, and the predictive analysis. Or rather, I would say a business model for future. That will lead you to a business model from the data structure, that data model you might have received.
Yes, I think you've connected the dots really well. And this also brings us to the next question, which is why should professionals of today, maybe somebody who's at the early stage of their career, not really glad with what they are doing right now, or maybe they want to explore a better career option in terms of shifting to something, should look at a career in business analytics?
I would say, till now we have just discussed all the advantages. I mean, it's a
Yes.
hot at this moment, and all over India, internet is the thing now. We can't
Correct.
ignore that,
Correct.
and so does Internet of Things, IoT.
Right.
So as I said, we cannot ignore the power of data.
Mm-hmm. Got it.
It was never ignorable, but
Mm-hmm.
at this moment, you cannot ignore the power of data. We are generating, each one of us generating data knowingly or unknowingly, give gigabytes or megabytes, I don't know how much bytes every day,
Right.
right? So the data analysis is a must that all the business houses, they had understood the
Mm-hmm.
power of data
Mm-hmm.
and doing that digitally, you know, introducing, I would say, automation in
Right.
handling that.
Right.
It cannot be a manual process. You cannot open your that big book ledger and you cannot just start keeping your accounts, or rather the history. Then again, that data will start going into silos.
Mm-hmm.
So that is, you cannot go back basically. So we all understood the power, and as I said, I mean, business houses, they understood that we have to bang on this data,
Mm-hmm.
otherwise we'll be laggards. To be
Yes.
the leaders everywhere, you see, from Amazon to all these e-retailers, how do they
Okay.
use data? You buy
Mm-hmm.
one thing from Mintra, next day you'll start getting all the preferences,
Absolutely.
right? You talk on phone
Mm-hmm.
with your friend on something, and you will
Yes.
start getting those, you might have seen that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I
So
have. And not just limiting to Mintra or Amazon. In fact, if even if I have to just put in a very small order, or maybe even if I have to just search for, say, a flight ticket, I know for sure that for the next moment, whenever I'm logging into my social media account or into my work account, I'm likely to see a lot of advertisements targeted around.
absolutely.
Gone
So
are the
that,
days, yeah, gone are the days when I would receive a happy birthday email with just my first name today. The email comes with my email ID. So,
so those are very good examples,
yes,
Meenakshi. Yes. So we don't actually, sometimes we don't keep those in minds, or we
yes,
don't just notice,
yes,
but that those are not unintentional.
correct.
Those are all meant to be for you,
Yes, that's right.
right? So that is where the business analytics came into is playing. I mean, they are working at the
Absolutely. And
background.
yeah,
Okay.
and one very powerful way of connecting these days that I saw with few companies is, so weight loss or being fit is something which is
Yes.
on the first wish list or priority list of many of the youngsters. So as and when you're looking or you're buying for some products, the next time whenever you're on Google Chrome, you're likely to see blogs, you're likely to see articles, newspaper featured articles, etc., related to what you've just bought or you are planning to buy. So I don't think so I've ever seen something of this sort, say about 5 years or 7 years before. I see that this is one next level revolution wherein, because of data analytics, because of business analytics, companies have invested at the right place because they would want to have this traffic routed there, saving the time of the people and giving advantage to those companies who've got a best fit product to cater to the needs. So from the marketing angle, being a marketing faculty, I can certainly sense that.
Yes, and as you actually, you supported whatever I just said
Yes.
with your experience, and that is what I mean. Big data, they say it is associated with three V's. There are five V's, 10 V's, but normally it is associated with three V's,
Correct.
like volume,
Mm-hmm.
velocity, and varieties.
Okay.
Data, in terms of data, big data is associated with three V's: volume, velocity, and variety. So, unless if you now think all your experiences in terms of
Yes.
these three V's, then business analytics is your future,
Correct.
right?
Absolutely. So
So now,
yeah, I
yeah,
will also request you to just highlight on some of these skill sets that you believe professionals who are eyeing on business analytics as their career should aim at.
I think first of all, reporting,
Okay.
right? reporting in terms of starting from primitive Excel. I would say primitive because there are many SAS tools. Uh, those are, catering to reporting. Uh, uh, they cater to wonderful dashboards.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that is one major important, presentation.
Okay,
Those are basic skills I'm talking about.
I get that.
Presentation, then reporting tool, and I would say programming language. Hold on,
Okay.
a programming language. It can be R, it can be Python. I would say I personally prefer Python.
Mm-hmm.
That's a very strong language.
Yes.
So it can cater to, it can actually, work from front end to back end. So one I think I took one more class in this university, BBA. I think I took a
Yes.
class, and
Yes.
there also I emphasized on a skill development on Python. So
Yes.
I
You're
think
absolutely
one programming language
is enough.
from 0 to 100. I mean, the I always advise or rather suggest no one programming language,
Hmm.
but no in and out.
Yes.
So that analytical skill, that helps in building your analytical skills. You
Absolutely.
don't need to know 1,000 programming languages.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like English. You speak English, you know the grammar, and you
Mm-hmm.
can easily understand other language. Not, you need to know the words, but you know the how to
Absolutely.
frame the sentences
Correct.
if your grammar is well.
Yes.
So it's similar, I would say,
Mm-hmm.
or rather it is even more advantageous. So no one programming language in and out. That is my one suggestion to the
Mm-hmm.
students.
So, in
They
fact,
should not ignore.
yeah, you've rightly
Yeah.
touched upon something which is, very important here. And just for the sake of the people who are watching us live right now, let me just tell you something about how we've worked out for this global MBA over here. So, Ms. Mitra, we definitely have integrated, say, about 6 kinds of workshops, which are technical
Ah,
workshops that would precisely focus on the kind of workshops that you've just mentioned or the programming language that you've just mentioned. So, these would be driven by industry. That includes Python, that includes R, Tableau,
wonderful.
Hadoop. So, yes, we would want our participants, we would want the students who are looking at this program to definitely have knack of learning these languages also, because we would want them to be industry ready. We would want them to be career ready professionals when it comes to business analytics. The second part of the skills that I also mentioned, so over here, there is a leg which is, ELLIS. That's ELLIS. So ELLIS precisely is engaged learning for leadership and influencing skills. We believe that a lot of students or a lot of people feel shy. They would know how to create a report. They would know what is the essence of it. But then these days we are seeing that somebody who knows the program in and out, somebody who knows the job in and out, are likely the successive leaders for tomorrow. Therefore, through this particular 1 year global MBA, we intend to create those leaders for tomorrow by putting them into 4 phases. So, of course, it starts with exploring of self, wherein we are focusing a lot on emotional intelligence, resilience, knowing your own skills. Then we move on to developing teams along with self, precisely focusing more on the leadership leg now. Then it's about developing organizations, because when you're building teams, there again,
Absolutely.
your focus should be on how to put an image up to the world, as in this is what we are as an organization. And at the fourth or the last level, it's leading through transitions. So how would somebody adapt to an organization changing its culture, an organization demanding a change in the team, demanding a change in the self, and so on. So this particular program focuses on the business analytics as the core, but also focuses on development of the skill sets, as you rightly mentioned, presentation skills being one of them, writing smoothly being another, building your impressions, influencing people, creating self-sustained or creating very, very high performing teams as any organization would need them to do. So
I think very nicely you put it forward, Meenakshi. The reason I mentioned the programming skill because I have seen business analysts.
mhm,
Because as I said, the role of a business analyst is what they closely work with the business.
correct.
They identify the problem areas.
Mhm.
Then they come back with the solution to the developers, to the
That's right.
development team, right?
That's right.
So there's a gap.
Correct.
So what you promise and what you are actually expecting from the development team,
Yes.
knowing the programming skill, knowing at least the basics of the programming skill,
Mhm.
that will be, that can do the wonder.
Correct.
That can bridge the gap of a development team and with the business,
Mhm.
because you are understanding the business perspective, you are
Yes.
understanding the developer's perspective.
Right.
So you are the right person to bridge the gap. So I have seen with my experience, business analysts who are more, they might think, what would I do
Mhm.
knowing a programming skill? But
Right.
that's wrong.
Right.
That's absolutely wrong. You can do the wonder if you know the programming skill well.
Mhm.
So you are the best person to work on
Absolutely.
this, gap.
Correct.
So that
And
is the reason I
yes, absolutely.
suggested.
And number of times we have also seen from a few examples in the industry that leaders do not see failures when it comes to their wisdom on what they're working. Failure comes from a team member not performing well or something not being communicated in particular. And something like business analytics where you should be thorough, as you rightly said. You should know what your client demands you of. And after
Yes.
10 days, if you are delivering something which has even 5% of a mismatch or 10% of a mismatch, I think that's exactly where you are going below the expectation. You're not meeting the delight part at all. Leave behind the delight part, but then building that trust itself will take a lot of time. And brands, MNCs cannot do so. Therefore, I do believe that leadership and influencing skills is very essential, especially when it's an MBA professional who would want to take up a leadership position in the future.
Yeah. In that case, Meenakshi, I have one more suggestion, if you can
Yes,
allow me to talk
certainly.
on. Yeah. So I would say the Scrum methodology. I don't know what the problem that you just described, we used
Yes.
to have waterfall method previously we used to use for our project. As you said, the requirement has come, the business analyst might have understood something else. The requirement was A1, then the business analyst had understood A2, and it has communicated to the development team as A3.
Right.
They understood A4. So there is
Uh-huh.
a gap between A1 and A4. And
Correct.
by the time the delivery is happening, it's a
Mhm.
huge loss for the business,
Yes.
say months,
Yes.
right? So to
Absolutely.
cater to this agile environment,
Mhm.
right? Today's world, everything is changing, the horizon, the requirement,
Mhm.
the, the perspective of customers changing every day,
Correct.
if not,
Absolutely.
more frequently. Okay.
Absolutely.
So to cater to this, right now there are Azure methodologies
Mhm.
that we use in our industry. So if you can, little bit, enlighten them, rather introduce the Scrum methodology
Mhm.
into your teaching.
Certainly. Certainly.
So that will, they'll be well acquainted with the methodology, which is
Mhm.
basically the methodology that we use in current days DevOps,
Mhm.
development and operations together. That is
Okay.
how it is called DevOps. So in the DevOps environment, we use Scrum methodology, which caters to this ever-changing uh, requirement of the customer, or rather the business.
Got it.
So if you can, I see this is, another new uh,
Yes.
methodology rather. So I would say if you can just, slightly work on that, I think
Surely.
that will be a help for them.
That's an amazing feedback, and we'll surely take this into consideration. So, as we move to the fag end of this masterclass, I do not want to lose an opportunity to not ask this question to a seasoned person like you. So, Ms. Mahua, we would like to hear from your experiences of being in this field for so many years now.
Yeah, it's been 20 years.
Yes.
It has got ups and downs, and it has got challenges. IT world, I think, has seen many dips, recessions. In my career, I think I have seen two or three big recessions, like other 2007 one, and then another in 2011 or 12 during, 9/11 happened in US. So there were challenges, in the tenure that I have seen. I have seen the booming type of IT. I have seen the low time of IT, and right now it's again, it's uphill, and the journey is uphill. You cannot stop it. We cannot stop it any further. But again, it's interesting. It's a roller coaster ride, but it is interesting, which entices me more, or rather, excites me more, the ever changing horizon. When I chose my career, I can tell you, I actually wanted, rather, maybe teaching could have been my profession. I was aligned to academics, but which actually, enticed me at that time, the ever changing horizon. I wanted to maybe, learn something new every day.
Mhm.
But yeah, that is not, I don't know whether that's a boon or that's a piece, but you have to, you have to be always on your toes
Mhm.
to, otherwise you'll be outdated
Certainly.
by the new generation. But I think it's a wonderful journey. I like it, and the challenges, the pressure, the stress. Overall, this is my life now, so I don't think I can live without it.
Wow, that's such a beautiful summary that you've given. I mean, I'm sure that with every ups and downs, with every recessions, with every improvisation that you've seen and witnessed in this industry, I'm sure that everything
Yeah,
gave
but
you.
one thing, Meenakshi, I want to add in this regard. One thing which I have seen with my career, honestly speaking, as I said, right, there were ups and downs. You have seen job loss. You have seen so many. We all know that, right?
Mhm.
But one thing, your feet should be on the, you know, uh, on a firm base.
Got
So
it.
as I said, you know one subject, but know it well.
Yes, absolutely. And I
So
think this is
in and out, nobody can put you down, nobody can
absolutely.
pull you down, I would say. So
Mhm.
you will never have, that's basically a suggestion to the students, because I know they
Certainly.
are watching it. So I would say, don't get scared by the, by the history, or
Mhm.
rather by the all these stories,
Mhm.
but you know your subject well.
I think that this is a big takeaway for all the participants and the people who will be viewing this video later also. Be firm, because you need to be mastered in the subject so that nobody can challenge you on the wisdom. And yes, even
Yes,
with
I mean,
that,
that's the only takeaway, the wisdom, right?
absolutely,
So you
absolutely.
you put in hard work.
Mhm.
I keep saying to my juniors also, see, you put in your hard work. It's not, you are not putting in for your company, you are putting it
Correct.
for yourself. You are
Certainly.
actually enriching yourself.
Yes,
So when you
absolutely.
are going away, you are going away with your wisdom that you might have accumulated over the years, right?
Correct.
And nobody can put you down. So that is one learning I have learned, last 20 years, that you know your job well, then nobody can put you down. Then
And
ups and
that's
downs will come.
correct. And that's exactly where you have to build your individual credibility, where organizations, departments, teams, individuals, co-workers can bank upon you as a person. And that itself speaks volumes for somebody who's working, knowing the subject, knowing the language, knowing the skill well in and out. So, Ms. Maua, as we come to the end of this masterclass, I would just take this moment to thank you so much for sharing such brilliant insights and giving us a lot of food for thought to take away with us today. I mean, I especially cherish the three V's, which is variety, velocity, and volume. Thanks for the feedback on Scrum, which is the latest new that you're saying, and we shall surely be looking into that. Uh, I never knew how OLAP worked. So thanks to you again for sharing how OLAP worked. Transition from data warehousing to enterprise data warehousing. How have things evolved so much in the last few years? And what is giving one good reason, one bright reasons for the professionals of tomorrow to think business analytics as a career option? So thank you very much for sharing these wonderful
Thanks,
insights.
Meenakshi. Thanks for the opportunity. I also enjoyed thoroughly.
On behalf of Jindal Global University and Jindal Global Business School, I would like to place gratitude to you for sparing your valuable time and enlightening us with such wonderful insights on the emerging themes of the business analytics. We look forward to hosting you on our campus, and we look forward to having multiple more sessions with you on a variety of themes with the kind of experience that you come. I'm sure that with every masterclass or with every session, we would be definitely having a lot of key takeaways from your sessions. So
Thanks,
thank you
Meenakshi. If I
very
can
much.
add any value to the students, I
Thank
would
you
love
so
to
much.
come back. Thanks.
Thank you, participants. We also hope that you also enjoyed this session. Please feel free to put us any questions that you might have. We can connect you with Ms. Mitra over an email. Feel free to chat with us. And yes, do explore more about this wonderful program, which is 1 year global MBA in business analytics, a fully residential 1 year program with an amazing immersion program with Wharton University in Philadelphia. So thank you very much, everyone. We look forward to meeting you in our next masterclass. That's on 23rd with Ms. Jyoti Mahindru. Please stay tuned on the LinkedIn and social media pages to know more about it. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thanks, Meenakshi. Bye bye. See you.